Thank you, El. Thank you, El. I appreciate that. So we're going to talk about power and interest as learning outcome 2. And then we're going to move on to, within that, conflict management, and then we're going to go to negotiation. No problem. I'm not sure, just to touch on the assignment that you guys have done. I finished marking on Monday. I have reached out to the admin helping team, the technologists, to ask what is the process. I'm assuming there should be moderation going on. I did not publish the results. I just saved them. So I feel like other people have already seen them. I don't know what happens. I'm sitting with someone, Jess is away, so I'll probably sit with someone when she comes back, just to understand what happens. Does everything go to moderation? Do I need to still go and publish? There's something else called SIM. So that I'm just letting you in on the technicalities and the admin that I'm facing. So bear with me. In my mind, I didn't think that you would have the marks. I thought they were going to go through the right moderation in the process. So if ever it turns out that they still have to go through moderation, bear with me. I probably did something I shouldn't have done, but as much as I could, I didn't publish. I just saved as, like, marked and then saved the draft. So I will only know as soon as I speak to Jess. Carol, I reached out, but she's away today. She's on leave. So I'll keep you updated. I'm just being transparent about where I am. It might turn out I didn't do anything wrong. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, so let's look at interests in organizations in the political perspective. So what is interest? I think we've all heard it when it's referred to as, what's your interest? What are you preserving? And at a personal level, your self-interest could be to provide for your children, to make sure that you're climbing the career ladder, to ensure that you carry the right gravitas in the business. That's self-interest. That's what you are focused on for yourself. However, organizations also have interests in the individual teams, have interest what they need to achieve as outcomes, and so what they're protecting. Sometimes a team wants to grow and stay in their silos sometimes, or grow and take over certain departments. That's a fact. So for example, you've got a product team, you've got an analytics team, and the interests of a product lead are to ensure that they take over the analytics team because they feel that there are synergies in that business. You can combine the two and have a good, bigger department, and the departments complement each other. So that's what interest in the corporate space could look like. What people seek to protect and what people seek to gain. Not only to protect, but also what they seek to gain, because sometimes with your interest, you go out of your way to ensure that you get what you need to get. And so it's divided into two. There's individual and there's a collective. For the individual, we look at what motivates personal interests. Some people are motivated by status, some people money, influence, and security. And I just don't think that status alone matters. You know, if you've got status but you don't have pay, it will matter. So I feel like it's not either or. It's not either status, pay, influence, and security. It could be a combination of all those. It could be all those things at any given point in time, or a combination of two or three. And I would bet a whole lot of it that it mostly has pay and security, pay and influence, pay and status, or a combination of few things. And if you guys, please feel free to jump in on the charts and say what you think about in terms of what motivates people, why individuals, what's people's interest. And sometimes people have interest to protect and to grow other people based on their values. So you would see something like that. So when you look at collective interests, this happened by design as a result of a certain grouping. For example, they are shaped by organizational culture sometimes and end up creating interest groups. I used to work for an insurance company back in the day when I was in Cape Town. what happens in that space is that there is a certain culture, because it's mostly like, insurance business is very technical. It's mostly led by actuaries. So you found mostly actuaries gravitating towards each other from certain departments, from investments, insurance, across the entire business segment. So that was what we call collective interest. And what was that interest? Professional. Sometimes the interests are as a result of us being in the same area, us being from the same country, us being, whether we are contractors and so we feel sorry for ourselves, or not feel sorry, but we understand, we empathize with each other so much. And obviously there's other one, girls, and sometimes just a gender, or we are white people or black people, and oh, we are nearing the end of our careers, so we are the people that are actually going to retire soon. So those are the interests that govern us. So it's not a bad thing. Interests are not bad things. It's just a way of its groupings. If you ever think of it, think of it as groupings. And the reason why it's important, why are we learning about this? Who cares? It's because you need to understand, in your stakeholder engagement and management, you need to understand who you must have interests on, which departments matter to you, and what's that interest. You need to identify that so that you can hone it, because it will help you deliver a product. It will help you get the right feedback that you get from your client. For example, if you're a tech person and you're delivering a solution, the interests that you have in the business are definitely in the heart of it, customers. But you're not always sitting in front of customers because you're in the product side. You're in the technical, if I can put it that way. You're bridging the gap between business and tech. So who's sitting in and have access to customers? It's your channels. It's the call center. It's the websites and any channel that's customer facing. So then your interests with the channel leaders are intertwined. So that means that you can never build a product outside of without support or without the right way with the customer facing teams, because they know the customer, they have insights, they carry the data of what the customer is able to do. So on the other hand, it could be that while this is all true, you could be, for example, you could be 30, you could be a female, and you could be black or white, and you could be at a certain age. And while that, you could be full-time, and you could be also geographically in different sites, and you could be an engineer. So all of these things, not either or, as I was saying, it's to find the golden thread across all these dynamics of interests. And the reason you're doing that is so that you can understand who to influence, that's number one, and how to influence in your stakeholder engagement. So let's look at it this way. Power and interest are directly related in a stakeholder relationship. You look at the ability to influence a project or an organization. While interest is the degree to which a stakeholder cares about or is affected by it, they are often analyzed together using this grid. So let's say, for example, who cares about this? Why would you need to do this? You look into your organization, you're about to deliver a huge project. You are mapping up your stakeholders. Why are you mapping them? You're mapping them so that you know how to manage them. So power and interest are key. So let's look at the tool that categorizes the stakeholders in these 4 quadrants, right? So if you look at it, power and high interest and high power. For high power, high interest, you can do high power, low interest. So let's look at it. High power, high interest. That means we need to keep that stakeholder informed and satisfied. And look at the relationships in terms of what's required. The high power, high interest, they are crucial individuals or groups. They need to be closely managed and actively engaged to ensure the expectations are met. That's what you do a stakeholder mapping for. High power, high interest, keep close. Manage them, actively engage, do feedback loops with them so they understand what needs to happen. You are changing a product, they need to be aware. You are in the design process, you've defined what the product would look like. You go to high power, high interest. The first designs that come out to get approvals, high power, high interest. The direction of the product has changed or you need something unblocked, high power, high interest. So high power, low interest. These are stakeholders, they should be kept satisfied and informed. High power, low interest, keep satisfied and informed. As their potential influence can be significant, but their lack of active involvement means less direct interaction is needed. So what your focus is then is just updates. That means you're not engaging them to seek way forwards, but you keep them informed. You send reporting. You send reports to them. You send updates on a weekly basis or in whatever format that you've decided, because they have the power, but they don't have the time. So when you look at low power, high interest, these individuals can serve as supporters. They don't really have power. They cannot define what needs to happen. They cannot make decisions. They cannot help you move to where you're going, but they like what you do. They're champions. They are invested in what you're delivering. So then they're advocates. Those people immediately, when you're advocating for change, that's who you target to drive the outcomes of the change. They belong in businesses. They are completely vested. They will help you gain support in their teams. So low power, low interest, these stakeholders require minimal effort. You monitor them without overwhelming with excessive communication. And you can maybe, when you do town halls, where you do once in a while update, you can just involve them so that they understand, they have an idea what is happening and where it's going, but necessarily that you're not dependent on them. I'll pause here a little bit and just check in. Does anyone have any questions? How do you understand this? Does this sound is it something that you've lived in your businesses, or this is a bit complex, or is this helpful in any way? When I say helpful, do you see how you can use this grid to plot and manage your stakeholders? So why should you care about this? Keep in mind the dynamic nature. So this grid is true at one point in time. It's not always true forever. So a stakeholder's position can change on the grid due to time or even where the project is at that point in time. So here is an example. You are delivering a mobile app for your business, and the mobile app, the focus of the mobile app is to drive down cost of acquisition and make sure that people are self-servicing. Initially, the most important person that you want to understand is your stakeholders. Let's say a customer-facing stakeholders, because you want to know what are customers struggling with, what are customers calling for, because that's how you develop strategy in terms of what to build. Once you understand what your customers are calling for, then you look at the top 50 issues, you condense them into certain themes, and then you can say, I'm going to develop a product that addresses A, B, C, and D. For example, in your self-service, most people call in an insurance space to get their policy documents. They call the call center. That means that the cost of servicing these clients are huge for minimal feedback or ROI for the business. You don't make money when someone gets their policy documents. So you need to make them available with minimal effort. So then you engage the stakeholders and they tell you in the contact center, the leaders, these are the top 500 queries. You focus on that and you build and you make sure everyone gets their policy documents on the platform. That moves your project. You move into second milestone of your project, where you now need to make sure that you cross-sell in the app. What does that mean? It means that if I have only phone insurance and you pick up that I have a car, because by some AI or product recommendation, you are able to find out that I have got a car, then you can push car and home insurance, right? So who are you speaking to? Your stakeholder at that point in time is no longer the person in the contact center, is the segment, the leader who manages this segment of car and home insurance, the actual product. And that's cross-selling. That now goes into sales environment, and that's huge in terms of making money for the business. So this shows that this is dynamic in nature. Your products and your stakeholders will change based on either circumstances that are evolving or project issues at any given point in time. And of strategic importance, the grid is just a tool for prioritizing stakeholders and allocating resources effectively to achieve project goals. Beyond project management, how can you apply this? You can use this exercise for also identifying stakeholders in management upfront. There are people in our organizations who make themselves seem very important because they are, in quotes, the sponsor of the project. However, they are just the sponsor. The person who decides what will go, in some instances, if it's a technical product, it's actuaries, and sometimes it's legal. So you need to bring them and know that if compliance doesn't pass your product, it's not going live. No matter what your stakeholder that you held high in the highest regard says. So when you're doing this, forget about the hierarchy of the organization. Focus on this way of segregating. Who is high power and high interest? Who is high power and low interest? And the treatment and how you deal with them and what gates they go to approve the outcome is quite important. I hope that was helpful. I didn't see this in the book, but I felt like it's a good tool. That's what I use when I'm trying to establish, especially in new organizations, to establish certain things. And sometimes because in an organization, you think you know how things work, but when you do this exercise, you realize that who you thought was a stakeholder is a stakeholder, but on a different quadrant as well. Cool. And we are now moving to discussing how people use influence and tactics in political action to protect their interests. First, let's just look at this, the difference between power and influence. Power is the potential to direct or control behavior, according to what we're reading, and influence is realized when others willingly align with your goals. Can I please ask, which one is better? Would you rather have power or influence? And why? Which one works better in a corporate space? Yes, Monang. Funny enough, Monang was hovering over your name because I was about to call you out. Yes, 100%. I think that influence is the way to go. But sometimes you're not always influencing people the way that you would think, and you don't have time. It takes so much time to work on those relationships. And sometimes for the mere fact that you're at a certain level and you can exercise your power, please do use your power. There's a reason you are given certain power. If you're a manager and you're a leader, obviously don't manipulate and coerce people or force them, but do make it known that we can have this discussion, but at the end of the day, we still need to meet targets. In the sales space, you influence people so that they can achieve their goals, but the targets are not moved. So it's a combination of both. I definitely would like to lead more with influence, but I think at some point you have to call it with power. Someone needs to draw a line in the sand. Someone needs to give direction. And to do so, you need to exercise a little bit of power. So let's look at it. Apparently, well, let's give me a second so I can go to the chat. I feel like it depends heavily on context. Power ensures the mandate. Yes, 100% exec, sponsor, group privacy, chief architect. But in execution heavy environments, system owners, ops and SMEs influence ensures momentum they can make or break day-to-day adoption. 100%. I think I agree on that. You can use both. It depends. It's not either or. You might like influence and lean more towards influence, but at some point you might need to call a veto and just make a decision on certain things. But be mindful if you're a leader who is only dealing with power. You are only coming with I direct and I control. I direct and I control. I direct and I control, because you might not be moving people along with you. You might just be getting them to do things, but they're definitely far away from you. Do they buy into the mission? I guess that's the most important thing. Cool. So let's look at when power converts to influence. So the conversion occurs when the target consents to act according to agent's wishes, right? So what does that look like? Power has moved. Give me a second, guys. I hope this is not annoying to you. I'd rather have more people talking than just reading through stuff in the slide. Unko Monday Caesar says, that's exactly what I'm going through today. I tried leading with empathy, but people want me to be a jerk. I hear you, Caesar. Odwa, I'm saying, okay, I don't know how to get back. What did I do? Here we go. I definitely hear you and I empathize. So power, so there is how, ne? So I've seen most people, oh, in fact, let me talk facts. I have seen my leader, my boss's boss exercise power. And I've seen that just yesterday. When they do that, they do it in such a way that they're not rude about it. They are not mean. They're just factual. And they position things like, you know what, I hear what you are saying, but unfortunately, we have a deadline on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. We all need to see what we can meet. Let me know how I can support you to close that, but the deadline is not moving. That's now different from a person who wanted to do the work but hasn't been able to because they're struggling with certain things. This is not possible. This is not possible. It's a different ballgame altogether. They don't feel like this is the project we should be going into, because at that time, when they don't buy in, it's a trigger for influence. But when everyone knows what needs to be done and it's defined and everyone has agreed, what's left of that is delivery. So I think exercising both, it's actually very important. And it doesn't mean when you exercise power, you do so with being a jerk. Don't associate it with being a jerk. Associate it with being assertive. And that's what you are called to be as a leader, to be assertive. Now you might need to define what assertive means. The language that you use is quite very important. It's firm, but it's respectful. Thank you so much. I appreciate the feedback from you guys in the chats. So how power converts to influence is when there is dependency and uncertainty. So when some situations are very ambiguous, you have a much more chance of explaining things to people and bringing them on board and give them clarity. By virtue of giving them clarity, you've moved away from being, this is what happens, this is how it goes, to being, let me bring you along, let me explain to you the journey, let me explain to you how these things come together. And obviously, it will may foster listening, but also critical resistance. Some people get it, some people understand, but they also want to push back. So then you need to influence as much as you can. But if you've done everything you know how, everyone has the right information, now it's just a matter of them agreeing or not. It's beyond the influence part. Then you need to move straight into power. And power is not bullying or forceful. It's just direct, and you take control of a situation. And that's what you're called to do as a leader. And we see most of that in the military. In the military, if you have to argue that you don't want to go after that enemy because you will be shot dead in the head while you're still talking. So you need to be able to execute there. The most thing that leads is at that time of battle is definitely action, more power. But offline, where they're interacting in that team building, it's influence. You have to garner influence for people to trust you. Then you can have power in certain situations over them. But you can't always call out power if you are not influencing, because you are what is it when you go deposit, when you withdraw, you are withdrawing what you didn't deposit in an ATM. So you're not going to get money if you don't have money in your ATM. So if you look at the common organizational influence tactics, it's rational persuasion, obviously using logic and evidence. We know our managers. We know who wants an airy-fairy story. We know our marketing people, they like to motivate. They like you to see the bigger picture. They evoke the emotion in you so you can relate to the product and you can buy into the product. So they're influencing you, right? And what they are reading there is what they are possibly pulling on is something like an inspirational appeal, right? And on rational persuasion, it uses logic and evidence. You've got numbers, it's either A or B. This is how this is going to work. And once it works, we're going to get this much at the end of the day. So that's it's facts, it's factual, it's people are blue, it's analytical. And sometimes it's coalition building. With this one, I'm not sure if you guys have experienced this. This is very important. Simon Sinek doesn't agree with this. Says it's not the way to do it. But men, if it's your organization, your personal organization, meaning it's your company, you can do what you want done. You can drive things however you want. That's great. You can change your culture even in your department. It's just that in a corporate, it's not your organization. Everyone has an agenda working on their business. So if you are going to go, for example, to a board meeting, you are going to go to a most senior, let's say, business planning meeting. You cannot rock up there not having spoken to anyone who is in the panel. You need to set up time and take people individually through what you're going to be saying to garner support and get their feedback and hear them say that would not work. They would never approve something like this. And then you say, okay, fine, how can I position things? They tell you, you fix things a little bit. By the time you get to the big meeting, everyone is aligned. You just have next steps to work on and what you need to deliver. So the ability to build the coalition is actually very, very, very important in a corporate space. Ingratiation, I don't like it. It sounds so fake most of the times. Okay, pressure, let's start with pressure. Applying demands or threats. Listen, that's not how we do things. We already said that's not how you work. And ingratiation, it's building rapport through praise and flattery. Some people do this very well. I don't. Oh, you're so nice. Oh my God, you sounded so good. For me, it has to be real. It has to be, you have to be really, I have to mean it. And then I can say it. I cannot be rock up just giving flattery. Oh my God, you sounded so good. Oh my God, you're so good. Oh, that was awesome. Oh, you know the way you said that. But also, you can't be a person who doesn't give people praise. So what's the balance? The balance is to really be authentic. Pick up on certain thing that you really felt like that person did very well and say, hey, well done. I liked how you delivered that message. I liked that presentation. I liked how you carried yourself in that room. I like how you took control of that conversation. Make it make sense. Don't be a fan. A fan, the one like where you are, for example, Beyonce's fan, and it doesn't make sense. But don't be a fan in that way, where you're like in so much awe, and you are blown away by the person. Oh my God, I'm so impressed by you, because then you are a fan. Yet, if you bring out something that you took away from a conversation and a discussion, you become a peer. Were listening, and you can converse it at that level. So be that person who's authentic in that way. So authenticity is very key in leadership. Exchange, that's one we all do. I will back you, you back me up. I will back you up on your request for more headcount. You back me up on my request for increasing my budget. And sometimes it works, because what do you have to lose? The other people want a person, you also want a budget, so you can always negotiate in that way. Are you in a space where you are demonstrating or you are experiencing any of this? Feel free to send on the chat if you want to chat also and talk through. It's perfectly fine. Cool. But let's look at the tactics. Pressure, it's threatening. We've seen that's what we've just seen. Inspirational appeals. That's one. That's the one we didn't touch. We didn't touch on. This one is also quite key. This I use actually quite well. I find out what makes people tick, what's important for them. Is it family? Is it winning? Is it getting the numbers? Everyone is different, and that's okay. You're not finding out so you can manipulate. You're finding out so that you can relate and you can speak to them in the way that makes sense to them in that context. So that's actually quite key, because you can boost their confidence And you can also make sure that whatever you say aligns. You touch on, for example, you're pitching, if you're in marketing, you're pitching to your client, and the CEO is a family-oriented person. Wouldn't you rather speak to family and what's important for them? Because that's what makes sense to them. It's useless for you to come with the numbers if they're going to get bored and be on their phone. So why are these influence tactics important? First of all, read the room. Don't go with what works for you. Awareness and awareness of circumstances and situations. The reason you are going to this course is not so that you can say, oh, I'm going to apply pressure, or I'm going to do an exchange, or I'm going to do a coalition. Read the room. You can't do a coalition if you've got nothing to offer. You cannot do ingratiation with a person that you don't know. You might be seen overly friendly and you might be seen like a fan. And consultation tactics, which I think is quite good actually. Where you're speaking to an expert and trying to understand what really works. So let's pause a bit and go back for 2 seconds and say we've spoken about power and interests. We've spoken about what interests are and how important they are, and the groupings that come either as an individual or a collective. And we've also spoken about the grid. That grid to help you understand who is who in your organization, what would you use it for stakeholder mapping, and for knowing how to engage with who. And we also now looked at the power and influence, the difference, and how does power move from power to influence? What supports that? We also looked at tactics and actions that drive certain how to influence, basically. So when you look at tactics, it's just how to influence, how to exercise influence and power. Most of them, like pressure, is more towards power. Coalition is more towards influence. So if you are looking at a situation and you are looking at a use case, this is how you break it down. You look at the use case and you're reading what tactic was used in this place, in this situation. Was it inspirational appeals? Was it coalition? And then you find the definition and then you support your statement. This is what I found. This is what happens. This is because, this is why. Okay. Let's look at politics, taking a political action. Politics is we all know it's the reality of the organizations that we work on. So rational models will assume that people pursue common goals and view politics as negative. It's not negative. It's way too advanced. It's to when I used to work for one of the banks, they used to say you need to know the rules of the game. You do need to know what matters and what counts in your organization so that you can be able to play that to your strengths to get to where you need to go. So Morgan says that politics, if I'm just reading straight up, politics are essential for reconciling diverse interests, creating order without authoritarianism, right? That's echoing Aristotle. And Fiverr says effective managers require business acumen, what to do, and political skill, how to get it done. I think I like the way Fiverr has just described it. So everyone says, oh, too much politics. Oh, corporate, too much politics. What do you mean? What do you mean? Are you saying that because you already have business acumen, let's assume that you know what you do, you are an analyst person, you are a strategist, you are a marketing person, you're a product owner, you already know what to do in that space. But how do you get it done in this organization? What gates do you need to go through to get approvals? Who do you need to influence? Who are your stakeholders? 100% common with Caesar. That's actually very important. You need to know, and you need to how to get it done. And how to get it done is not how to do the work. It's how to get it done, how to get everyone rallying and supporting your mission. How do you do that? That's very important. Sometimes what people do, I'm not sure if this is exercising power or influence or even what tactic. Sometimes if you want everyone to pitch in an organization into a meeting and you are just a product manager, sometimes you realize you want senior people. You don't send the invite from yourself. You send it from your CEO, from your leader. What are you exercising there? You are definitely knowing what to do. You're just using a political skill to get everyone in the room so you can have the right conversations. And it's at your disposal. You are supposed to do that. And sometimes you name drop. I just spoke to Oh my God, yes, 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 yes. That's so true. I just said that now. You name drop. Hey, I just spoke to legal and compliance. They agree with this, and all I want is for you to just sign over here, right? That's how you get things done. You know that you need to carry gravitas. You need to be able to have spoken to certain individuals, and so you flaunt that. And that's politics. So someone says, "Oh, that it's too political." They're going to say, "Of course it is. You can navigate. You just need to know how." You can navigate politics and you can use them. You don't have to play them. Please, you don't have to play them, but you can navigate them and get your things done. So politics in practice is power converted into influence, is political action. And political skill enables individuals to use their base of power effectively. We've spoken about this. Political behavior, look at this. It can be legitimate. Oh, well, thank you so much, you guys. I hope you do really see value and it can help you. And so what's legitimate? Coalition building, it's an okay thing to do. It's not a, oh, I saw him going to that office to speak to that person before this meeting. Of course, that's the job. That's what they need to do before the meeting to get their point across and to get people aligning to them. That's what you do. Alliance formation, you form alliances. We have seen this in political parties. We have seen this in war, even in the office, in like the art of war. It's right there. You need to be able to form alliances with people for common interest. Remember the stuff about interest that we talked about? For common interest, you need to be able to form alliances. Networking is actually quite good. I personally, if I'm being that honest and that authentic, I struggle with networking. And it's one of my growth areas. Every day in my personal development plan with my boss, I am always thinking, how can I network better? I don't know how to do it. I feel weird. I, for me, I want to know a person personally and have real conversations about certain things. I want to, and yet, while I say I want to know a person personally, if I'm invited to a dinner to do, I don't want to go. So I'm a hypocrite of note in that space. I know I need to work myself out of my comfort zone and build the relationships and network. And sometimes networking, it means doing something that you naturally wouldn't do. Can I learn golf? Can I go play paddle? Never in my life. I'm not gonna not know how to breathe. But like I'm just making examples of things that you can do to get into the right rooms and have the right conversations. It's useless for you to say everyone in the office goes to play paddle. You say no, I don't play paddle. I'm not going. I'm being authentic. I'm being true to myself. Okay, you be true over there. We'll go and play paddle. And when we come out of there, we will know what we're doing about that project, and you'll be kicked out, and you won't even know what happened to you. Yes, everywhere, guys, that you go, you cannot run away from them. So what do? Like a wave, you ride them. You ride politics to your advantage. You do whatever it takes. You do try and keep as authentic as possible because you don't want to be a backstabbing person. But men, don't stick to your guns unless something is against your religion. For example, if everyone goes to a bar and drinks and you don't drink and it's not allowed in your religion, it's not something you do, then don't do it. Stick to those guns. That's fine. Or you can go and have something light. That's perfectly fine. Don't sell your values, but you must be willing to at least to a degree of assimilation, even if it's 10%. Okay, time is right. So the stuff that's not a thing to do, illegitimate forms of political behavior, your tactics that you use, don't sabotage someone else's work. Don't do that. Don't not support a person. Yes, you can drink 0%, you are fine, you'll survive. Don't not support a person. Don't wait for a person to fail. You know what they're doing is going to fail because they didn't check ABCD. You know compliance is gonna tell them, go back to the drawing board, you didn't consider the right consent. You know this, but you're not gonna raise it because you want them to see right there in that meeting and say, ha, I knew it. That's not even a thing to do because while that person is suffering and probably you get a little laugh, that's all you'll ever get. So that little laugh and that little pat on the back with you and your friend, that means you are on the mean girls group. Okay, this is meant to be a lecture, but what I mean is that be a strong person, support people around you, be an ally, support people positively. You sense something wrong, be open about it. Even to the person you don't like, say, I don't think this is going to work. I don't think you've considered ABC. It's much more better. You grow, that person, and you're also growing in your influence. And don't withhold information, as I've just said. That's not how to do it, guys. Especially in a digital space. Imagine building this entire thing. You know it's wrong. You are there. You know the journey will never work because it will never integrate in the call center because you've tried this before. You keep quiet because that other person must see it for themselves. That's not a good. I'm not sure if even it's good or bad in the sense that that's not a good thing to do because we're not here to be good people. But men, we are here to be leaders. We are here to lead by example. We are here to influence. We are here to be positive. We are here to set direction. And if you lead your team and you show the wrong way of doing things, they will pick up from that. And it's not, and you can never last. I might tell you something. Oh, we don't have time. But a long time ago in my career, I worked in an insurance company. We were starting. My boss and I, we came from Joburg and we went to that province. And there was a guy who felt like he should have gotten this job as head of digital. And he didn't. He was there. Let me tell you, he was senior, he was known, he was head of technology, he was known, he had influence with the executives. My boss was just starting and we were a new team. Everything we tried to do, he stopped. Whenever we tried to deliver something to technology, he stopped that. Like things would not go anywhere. And if they were going somewhere, they came out as though it was him who was driving this. And this was so frustrating. My boss said to me at that time, um, this guy's name is, my boss's name is Lunga CEO. He's now CEO of Consumer Telecom. He said to me, these things like this don't last. You cannot do things like this and last in corporate. Watch. And I watched, guys, the guy's name that I won't mention. By the time he was done with in the business, he had no credibility. No one in the exec trusted him because he always found bad things to go and say to the executive team about what we were doing. And no one trusts you when you're like that. So he was not trusted. He actually ended up at some point without a role, trying this, being in marketing, being in tech, being everywhere. And he could never be trusted with anything as a department. Whereas my boss continued, thought, did other things, left the business. I am saying that to say you never can win when you play dirty. You might look like you are winning temporarily. It's very temporal. That it cannot be sustained. So let me move on. We've just already spoken about this, so I'm not going to go to the detail. You can look into legitimate in terms of what happens internally and also externally, what the impact is. Hundreds. Give me a second. It seems like this is a hidden slide. I'm not going to start conflict management. I will do it next week because I feel like I don't want to rush it and run through it. So all these slides, I will upload them today. What I did was I put all the L4 slides in one big deck and I keep editing and adding as I go on, but I don't want to go through them and force them. So you will find them. I'm going to upload them today. You will find this lesson for next week around conflict management. What is conflict? We will look at conflict management approaches and the conflict model, Thomas Kilman's conflict model. And we will look at just conflict management, like what do you need to do? And we will look at training and development, promotion and collaborative culture. And we will also look at theme 3, negotiation. They say apply the 2 phases of negotiation, but I've gone and done the 5 phases of negotiation because at whatever point in time, we start with preparation and planning. What is negotiation? Then we look into what's preparation planning, what does it do, what steps do you need to take? And why is this important? It's because you need to understand that when you get into that space of politics, you will definitely need to negotiate. You will definitely need to learn how to manage conflict. So we'll chat through next week. I'll run a bit faster because I was running so fast prior to this time, and I feel like I've slowed myself down so much. It's to the benefit of the class, but we also need to close and close the module. So we look at negotiation, preparation and planning. We look at definition and ground rules. We look at clarification and justification. We will look at, in fact, that's the end, closure and composure. Let me find it. It should be here. bargaining and problem solving. And then we'll look at closure and composure as well. For now, that's it. Let me pause here and check in if there are any questions, even about the exams and the tests. Do you guys know when you're writing your exam? I will start looking into. Yes, please, you can speak.
I can't remember, but I think it's either the 7th or the 14th of November. I know there's 2 exams on that day. One is the other marketing module, but yeah, so it's either the 7th or the 14th, one of the two.
100%. Okay, cool. So what I will do is that I'm going to push a bit harder so we can close the lecture completely, because I want to have a lesson on the last to go through the possible questions in the exams. Everyone or the certain directions. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to find time for the assignment too. I need to go read it and I need to know which slides. Okay, let me give you feedback about the assignment, what I picked up from almost most of you, maybe 10%. Everyone, you guys are good. Like, you know what you're doing. You're writing the reports. You're doing good. I picked up small things like mixed referencing, but I'll speak to the individuals directly. It's where you use the 2 ways of referencing. You need APA, you also need something else in the same document. And unfortunately, the rubric penalizes us for that. So I'm not happy when I see those things and I have to penalize people for such things. If we need to go through referencing, please say so that we can go through it. And the second thing that I saw is on question 2 of the assignment, there was something about dimensions of change. Some people did speak on the forces of change and the dimensions. Some people only did the forces and didn't do the dimensions. So then I had nothing to mark. So then those marks I made comments and it's done very well. There's just those things missing. And I wonder if the way that assignment was done, the dimensions needs to come out as a question of their own so that people know that it's question 1 and it's question 2 as opposed to question 1, A and B. So I'll look into that so that I can help out. What I want to achieve with you guys, I'm hoping that's okay, is that first of all, you get the gist of it. Like, you just get what we're talking about, and you can go on and you can start to exercise some of these things in the organizations. I don't want you to write down and say, I passed. But men, I want you to pass as well. I want you to pass very well. So I'm committed to that. Just give me some stuff to work with, because it's not up to me. It's up to me. Yes, I need to make the decision, but it's also, there's moderation, there's everyone looking into things. And so we need to be ethical in how we do these things. So I am still going to find out what happens with the marks if they go to moderation and whatever. I know some people have been messaging me about certain things. I have not forgotten. Don't be under pressure. I've just reached out because I want to follow the right process that is followed by the university. I haven't received emails yet. So what do I do? I'll let you know. But I have not forgotten. I'm not taking it for granted at all. Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Much appreciated. Yeah, I didn't leave any time for questions. Any questions in this 2 minutes task? Anybody? Mama Khai? Okay, cool. Thank you, Tim. Have a great week ahead. I look forward to next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.